Well, hello, Prateeksha.
Hi, Rebecca. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, let me give you it looks wonderful. Your camera and video and everything look wonderful. I'm going to give you a quick introduction unless you would like to do it yourself, however you would like to do it.
whatever you prefer. I'm good.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. Well, I have one here. Let's see. Prateeksha Shadragati will present on climate positive gifting, leveraging the massive gifting industry to fund climate healing. Prateeksha is a technologist from the San Francisco Bay Area with 16 years' experience in product and technology. As an 8-year vegan, she is passionate about finding practical and scalable systems that can create climate transformations. She most recently funded and runs Greenr Gifts, an online platform for climate positive gifting. In her spare time, Prateeksha is a cat mom, a dancer, trained in the Indian classical dance form Kathaka. I'm not sure I've said that right. Welcome, Prateeksha. Welcome.
Thank you, Rebecca. Lovely. That is pronounced as Kathak. But thank you so much. That was really kind words. Appreciate the platform, and it's so exciting to hear all the amazing work that's happening here. Um, eh, Rebecca, can I present? Is that something I can do?
Yes, yes, you may share the screen, and present.
Okay. Okay. Let me do that. Just give me 1 second. All right. So can you see the screen now?
I see it, but it's not in presentation form. We see the side screens also.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll bring it up.
You'll take that. All right, we see it good. Thank you.
Yeah. Can you see it in presentation form now?
Yes,
Can you see the slides or the notes?
I just see the slide, the right slide.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So thank you once again, Rebecca, and thank you all for being here. My name is Prateeksha, and like she mentioned, I'm an 8-year-old vegan, and I'm so excited to be here with this group. My primary motivation for turning vegan, apart from, of course, the ethical concerns, was, of course, like realizing that the animal agricultural industry has such a huge impact on climate change. And over time, since then, I have also become more and more convinced that dealing with climate change is perhaps the number one most urgent issue of our generation. And so I found myself wondering how it is that I could create a larger impact than just making a personal change in my footprint. And that's what got me started on this. And so 1 year ago I decided to leave my full-time job and start Greenr Gifts, which is a climate positive gifting platform. Um, for a little bit of context on me, my professional background, I'm a technologist, but I've mostly always worked on consumer products. I started as an engineer and then became a product manager working in large companies such as Yahoo and Microsoft, and then later on in startups. Um, all that is to say that I believe tremendously in the power of consumer behavior and its potential to, shift industries and shape the world, right? But I also have in my journey sort of become more and more aware of how consumer behavior can be consistently and at scale influenced by large corporations with their large marketing budgets. I witnessed it. I was part of that machinery, and so it inspired me to think about how can I leverage that machinery um, to create climate positive impact rather than perhaps fight it. um, so that's going to be kind of what I will also be focusing on in this talk, um, because like we all live in this system, this mostly capitalistic society, and no matter what our private economic or political philosophies might be, we exist largely in the system which measures, like, every country, whether it's capitalist or socialist, measures its progress by GDP, and unfortunately, that's kind of the main focus of most people. And hopefully, decades from now, we'll look back at this and think of this as a very myopic obsession, but we don't have decades to waste. And so if you have to do something now, I kind of started to believe more and more strongly that, we could co-opt or leverage this system and find ways in which to build, categories or industries which are climate positive in nature. And so therefore, Greenr Gifts, right? So in this talk, I'm going to initially just quickly lay out the traditional economic system that we are all familiar with, and also highlight how we traditionally tend to think about, sustainability efforts. And then I want to propose an additional, not necessarily novel, approach to creating, climate impact by leveraging this system. So this is very straightforward. I'm going to, we know that the traditional economic system right now, and not the donut economics, this is what is widely adopted, is that, we match consumption demand with production of goods and services, where we use land, labor, and capital to produce these goods and services. And this system is typically regulated using policies to make sure there are there's fairness and justice, and make sure that the external negative impacts of the system is minimized. And accordingly, our key climate solution levers that we typically tend to pull are in these categories. We focus on creating climate policies. And when I say we, I mean like the larger community of, folks that are climate advocates, right? We focus on climate policies and regulations that can regulate the production part of the system with, net zero mandates, EPA regulations, etc. A second category of policies focus on influencing the demand by, providing tax credits, solar EV tax credits, and government infrastructure spending. So pushing for these kinds of policies is definitely something we need to continue to do. And then we also have like a third category, which is where this movement, the vegan movement, for example, falls under, where, you're trying to influence consumer behavior just by educating people and inspiring them to change. And these three categories, super important. In addition, we believe that there is a fourth category, fourth lever, where we can create a new category of demand for climate positive goods and services. And by climate positive, what we mean is generally good for the climate. In Greenr Gifts, on our platform, we use the definition. We think of the definition of climate positive as being not just carbon neutral, but carbon negative. So something that's actively having a positive impact on the climate. But even if you were to create a category of goods which are carbon neutral, it still is shifting demand from the more harmful goods to a cleaner goods. And so it continues to still be overall a positive effect. And this is not a very novel idea to create new categories of demand for climate positive goods. We have brands such as Tesla and Allbirds and Oatly, etc., which are building, superior goods that are competing well with their traditional counterparts. And people are buying these products not just because it helps the planet, but because they are actually superior, products. And so that is kind of our focus. So how do we do this? We believe it's by focusing on creating goods and services that can compete with traditional ones in terms of performance, design, or user experience, right? So we can sell to a fairly large number of people with just climate positivity as the value proposition. But in order to expand beyond that and actually kind of reach most consumers out there, we also want to make sure that our products are competing, in terms of all of these other, more traditional metrics, performance, price, design, user experience, etc. And that's possible. That's absolutely possible, right? So with that sort of perspective, Greenr Gifts tries to do this in the gifting industry by creating a category of gifting products that are actually climate positive in nature. And our first and foundational offering is tree planting as gifts. The way that it works is very simple. We plant trees on behalf of the customer in partnership with rewilding partners, such as many here, including Sadhana Forest, who's going to give an update later today, I believe, around the world. And then our customers gift these trees to their family, friends, partners, clients, employees. So we do both corporate gifting and personal gifting. It could be occasions such as birthdays, memorials, weddings, etc. Or it could be in the corporate context. You might be gifting your clients. You might be giving these out as gifts in conferences where you give out, T-shirts and goodie bags and things like that now. So these are alternates to that. Or it could also be like Christmas gifts for employees, etc. So these are all the categories that we're looking at. And the gift receiver, they receive a personal co-branded certificate which says, hey, co-branded in the case of corporate gifting, but in the case of personal gifting, it's just your name. It says, hey, so-and-so has planted so many trees in your name in such and such a location, or hey, so-and-so has named a forest in your name. And the receiver also receives a dashboard where they can see their plants, their trees, the project where they have been planted, and they get updates from the ground over time as to how it's, how it's impacting the community around, etc. So this is a high level of how the tree planting gift works. So one of the first questions we receive with this category of product is, because it's not a very tangible product, you can't see, touch, and feel it. The first question is, how do we know this money is going towards planting actually? And so that, we believe, is like the number one thing that we need to get really good at, is helping build that trust and almost over time have our consumers start to associate Greenr Gifts with like that trusted partner which will do that monitoring and validation on their behalf. Right now we offer two forms of what we call monitoring models. So in the first, the customer receives in their dashboard a holistic sort of view of their planting. They get details such as the photos of the session when the planting happened, the date when the planting happened, the rough geocoordinates of the site, as evidence that this planting has happened, saying your trees were planted, as part of the session. We also have something called the ultimate transparency model, which goes to a more fine-grained detail, where for each sapling planted, the photograph is taken, and the date of the planting and geocoordinates of that exact tree are included. This is obviously a little bit more expensive, and also it's a less efficient way of using the funds. Is more of it is going into documentation and things like that rather than just actual planting. Having said that, we find that offering both allows us to reach more customers. Often, customers need that initial evidence or transparency for their initial gifts because they're not very trusting as of now, yet. But over time, they start to kind of believe that, yes, I mean, they form that trust, and then they're more comfortable with just the holistic monitoring model. So that's why we offer both of these. It's also interesting that we've seen, like, the trust level varies across countries. So in more like in richer countries or more industrialized developed countries, which have like less corruption in the system around them, we tend to have customers be more trusting. Whereas in developing countries where the system itself has a lot more corruption, tends to kind of raise these red flags a little bit more for customers. And so, which is totally understandable, and we want to make the experience be such that these people feel comfortable and happy about giving these gifts. We plant with verified partners around the world. Like I said, we have 9 planting locations right now across 4 continents, including Sadhana Forest, our vegan planting partner, who we'll be talking later on today. We also have technology partners which help to independently verify this planting, which we use for some of our projects, which don't which don't have the infrastructure to provide that monitoring themselves. The kinds of projects we have include a wide variety of wide variety of projects. So we have native reforestation in arid regions and food forests, both right now being in partnership with Sadhana Forest. And then in addition to that, we also have projects which focus on wildfire land regeneration. We have one project which does kelp planting in the ocean to bring back ocean ecosystems. And we also have a project which does mangrove forests, mangroves which are specifically focused on kind of increasing the carbon absorption rate of that forest. And in addition, we're always looking to partner with any other rewilding efforts out there who need a source of funds. We are a very early organization. We are growing, but providing a wide variety of projects in different regions also kind of helps us build out the customer base in different parts, because different people are sort of attracted or relate to different types of projects. So that helps. All of our projects, in addition to helping the climate action SDG, also helps with almost 2 or 3 more of any of these other UN SDGs. Many of our projects, provide economic opportunities and decent work for the people in that community by hiring them to kind of run, do the planting, etc. And many of them, including the ones at Sadhana Forest, focus on reducing poverty and providing food security by building food forests. Some of our projects also provide clean water and sanitation, because reforesting, rewilding a region also comes side by side with improving the water table in the area. They also have explicit water sort of conservation projects, which helps provide water to that community. And then just having the community be part of these projects, there are so many stories of how kind of people just start living a different life with much better good health and well-being, just because being close to nature and doing things for nature is that's kind of how we have evolved for millions of years in touch with nature. So it takes us back to our roots and sort of kind of inspires these communities to continue down this lifestyle. 14 and 15, like I said, we have most of our projects are on land, but we do have one project under the water as well. But all these projects, of course, help to bring back wildlife in the region, birds coming back, underwater species starting to come back with the kelp forest, etc. So overall, so these are the other benefits. So most of these projects really work to figure out how to work with the community, and that we believe also helps sort of our customers feel attracted to these projects. Okay, coming back to the the product market fit or the economic aspect, like I said, we do want to make sure that we are competing with other traditional gifts, um, if, and not just by saying that there is climate impact, which is an obvious value proposition and it appeals to many people, but for to widen the customer base, it's important for us to compete in other ways as well. So we see that with corporate gifting, we see that the primary sort of appeal seems to be one, it elevates the brand when these brands give out these tree gifts as opposed to other materialistic goods. Their clients start to see them as more socially responsible, doing good for the planet, therefore in general good, and therefore it builds like their loyalty with their customer base. So they like that. They like the brand marketing value of it. Also, secondly, it's really convenient and scalable. So if you think about a large company that's gifting, let's say for conferences or to all their employees, um, generally just procuring the t-shirts or whatever it is that they would have given otherwise, then transporting it to the conference location where they set up their booths, storing it. Then if it doesn't get used, then bringing it back, continuing to store it. Just a lot of logistical headaches. So we see that people on the ground, like the marketing contacts or HR folks, they sort of like this also for its convenience and scalability aspect, where the corporate partner itself, they get a dashboard where they can see how many trees they have purchased and has been planted, and they can see how many gifts have been given, to whom they've been given, how much is remaining. So they can see all of that in one dashboard. And so that logistical aspect of it also is something that they appreciate. And finally, it's a unique product at the moment. In a typical conference, you'll see mostly all of these other like goodie bags and t-shirts and stress balls and pens and all of these things. And so this just sort of stands out as something that's just very different. So they appreciate that as well. In personal gifting, we find that the primary appeal is like the unique emotional appeal, because ultimately gifting is the large part of the value in gifting is the way that it makes the receiver feel when they receive the gift. So there is a unique emotional appeal here where they're like, hey, somebody has planted a tree in your name, or somebody's named a forest in your name. Just the feeling that in my name now there is another life that has been created in my name, and which is going to be nurtured in my name. That just makes people feel good, and rightly so. So I think that's the primary appeal. And it's also a very convenient last minute gift. It doesn't have delivery lead time, like that the product, the gift has to be delivered, it takes time to get delivered, etc., because it's all digital. And then finally, the gifted user experience itself, because gifting is one of those things where if you know the receiver well, you know exactly what to get them, you know what they need, what kind of lifestyle they lead, do they read books, do they like clothes. It's easier to give such people whom you already know well. But oftentimes, if you don't, there's a lot of just overhead in trying to figure out what is the right gift that needs to be bought. As a result, we've found in a lot of surveys that, I mean, a lot of people hate the act of figuring out what to give, and a lot of gift receivers also feel like that's something that they didn't want, and they either pass it on or they end up trashing it, which also results in creating further waste down the line. So just kind of cutting that out and giving something that for sure is positive in nature, which is not going to create any sort of waste. And as soon as the gifter sort of resonates with it, they kind of see no reason why the receiver will not resonate with it. So, and therefore, the decision making is simpler. So they also appreciate that. So at a high level, just thinking about these aspects when we were designing our products and we develop our products, to make sure that it competes well with other gifts that these customers are going to be like debating between, make sure that they're able to compete in that category. finally, just what our customers are saying. You don't have to read all this, but in general, it is very positive. But on the right, I think I want to draw attention to this thing, which was a very interesting learning that we had on the ground of in the corporate gifting scenario, where in about 5 events recently, we had our corporate customer, Juniper Networks, set up comparative situations in these booths. So everybody that passed by in those conference booths, they had the opportunity to choose between a tree gift or a t-shirt in one case, and a tree gift or a goodie bag in another case. And we were very pleasantly surprised to find that there was an overwhelming preference of the tree gift. 100% of the folks picked the tree gift over the goodie bag, which goes to show how people are also now overwhelmed by all of the swag or the things that you receive in this corporate setup. And they're like, I don't want it. They're at that point where they're saying, I don't want it. With the t-shirt, there are some, there is a little bit more utility to the t-shirt. And so there were more people that picked the t-shirt preference, but still overwhelmingly, 4 out of 5 people ended up choosing trees over even t-shirt, which was a surprising learning for us, but very positive and encouraging. And just closing it out again, coming back to the larger industry as such, right? The gifting industry is a huge industry, and it's rapidly growing. The global gift card market in itself is set to grow to 4.2 trillion apparently by 2032. It's growing at like 17% CAGR. And the corporate gift giving specifically is growing at 13% CAGR, also big numbers here. The gifting industry is a fairly fragmented industry. We will never see a world where everybody gives everybody else this exact same gift for all occasions. It's not one of those things. It's an industry where you just do need a variety of products. And so I don't believe one product can capture the entire industry here. But if you think about creating a category of climate positive good gifts, over the category as such can capture a large portion of this, and these funds can ultimately either finally be redirected to climate positive activities such as tree planting or other things. The top trends: personalized gifting, experiences over possessions, sustainable and ethical gifting, digital gifting. So these are the top trends this decade. And so this also aligns very well with that, which is why I feel very motivated by this trend, and we feel like this could be big. And then going back again, like I said, because the gifting industry is a huge, is a very diverse industry, a fragmented industry where you need more than one product. We are really thinking of this as a gifting category. We just have the tree planting one as a foundational product right now. But eventually, you can think about things like naming a beach in someone's name, and that could fund beach cleanup, or upcycled products, from waste, like upcycled artwork and jewelry. You have this jewelry being created from wine bottles and art being created from soda can tops and things like that. Or it could be apparel created from waste, anything. And basically upcycled products, which can fund recycling. Adopting an animal for someone, that also has the same emotional appeal as planting a tree, and that could help fund wildlife conservation. Mindful getaways to rewilding projects, could help introduce more people to the actual experience of rewilding. But for the customers themselves, they can think of it as, instead of a getaway to a holiday destination for a week, instead of that, they choose this experience, which comes with a very different set of It's a very different experience, and I think just the novelty of that experience could create a market there in the travel and experience space. I'm planting coral in one's name. I saw this somewhere and I thought it was really interesting. Just coral reef and the corals being just so pretty and beautiful, I think also make for nice gifts. But these are some examples in ways we think about how can some activities which are climate positive be repackaged as a gift that satisfies the requirements of creating that warm, fuzzy feeling in the gift receiver, that does bring some value in terms of utility or a new experience for the gift receiver, and that also makes it easy for the gift giver to make this decision of giving this and makes it worthwhile for both those parties. So that's how we think about this. If you guys have any other ideas for what could be good gifts, please ping me. I am at P, just my first letter, at Greenr.Gifts. And finally, before questions, this is how, if you want to help, these are some things that you can be doing. Firstly, try us, please, for your next Christmas, birthday, anniversary, wedding, memorial gift. We are at www.greenr.gifts. And if you work in a company and you're aware of HR and marketing teams, if you are in touch, or if you know who the HR and marketing teams are in your company, I would love to chat with them to understand if this would be a good fit for them for corporate gifting within the company. And then also, many of you are rewilders yourself, or you may know other rewilders or planting partners. If you are interested in becoming a planting partner for Greenr Gifts, also you can reach me at p@greenr.gifts, and we can talk through what makes sense for you, what makes sense for us, and hopefully join forces. And finally, just want to leave you with this quote that sort of always brings me back home, like, to be without trees would be, in the most literal way, to be without our roots. As that's all I had in terms of content. I want to then now stop talking and take questions and have a conversation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Prateeksha. Okay.
All right.
Hi. Well, that was wonderful. And I do have some questions before we open to the floor.
Mm-hmm.
So you talked about a number of different projects. Are they all under Greenr Gifts, or are they collaborations that you work with to do that? Would you go over that a little more?
Yeah, no, absolutely. They are not, they're all independent organizations. Many of them are most of them are nonprofit groups. Some of them are, in affiliation with the local government in those countries. And they are their own organization. They raise their own funds, and we just work in partnership with them, where we sort of plant they plant on behalf of us, and we help fund their efforts. So that's how the partnership works.
Excellent. And your underwater work, can you tell us a little bit more about that project? That sounds very fascinating. Or was it
Absolutely.
water? Was it beach, or was it underwater, or yeah?
It is underwater. It's in the oceans, in like on the western oceans of California, sorry, of Canada. So this is what they do here is they plant kelp. The kelp is actually not a tree, but it's still called kelp forests. So we have put it under this category. Kelp is a type of algae, and kelp forests are actually, I can post a link here which will give you a lot more details about that project. But kelp is, kelp grows like to really high like lengths. So they create this entire forest ecosystem underwater, and which is helpful for to bring back the species that live underwater, because they sort of feed on the kelp, and the kelp also helps to kind of balance um, the chemical, like I think it's oxygen salinity and pH levels and those kinds of things. So it creates that the right atmosphere required for all of those the sea creatures to come back, just like how you would have birds, etc., coming back once you plant trees, but just happening underwater. I will share that link where you can see how this planting happens, and then also like more details about
That's
um, more details about how it the science of it, for example. Let me share that here.
Thank you. And so I suppose if I knew somebody who was very fond of kelp, I could look for a gift that helps the kelp forest in the
Or
ocean. Or
yes, absolutely. Or if you know somebody who's like who's interested in bringing back oceans, sea life, who kind of is probably like a surfer, or people who kind of, or who fish, or I know this is a vegan ecosystem, so maybe not that,
Mhm.
but people who kind of are connected to the ocean.
Yes.
I think for them that particular project resonates.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Thank
I
you
will
so much.
also post a link to all our projects, in case you want to get more details about the other projects.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. And I'm going to ask the audience, the participants, if they have a question, to please raise your hand. And if you can, turn on your camera. If you raise your hand, then we'll help you turn on your camera. And we have someone now, Danny, our climate healer, who may have a question herself, or she may have one from the chat.
So I just want to tell you that I did my Christmas shopping on your site. The only thing that I couldn't find when it came to like the choices of what you're celebrating, I didn't see anything for Christmas holiday. And I don't know if you didn't get around to it or if there's some other reason for that. But I'm just thinking I'm going to do more and more of this, and maybe I'll get more and more involved on the other end with you. I just think it's such a brilliant idea. And I'm in the habit of sending gifts to people who are having a hard time. Um, and I think this is like such a life-affirming type of gift and so unusual. And I think it really brightens somebody's day. You could spend $20 and get like 50 trees, or $20 to get you 10 trees or something, but it's a ridiculous ratio. I mean, it's a really simple and economical thing to do. So yeah, so I'll be in touch with you to see what more I can do, because I really just love this idea. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Danny.
Danny. Yeah, thank you, Danny. And I will take that feedback back. I don't know what happened there. We do have Christmas on a few places, but maybe the flow you went through did not have it. But we'll make sure that we have that show up there as well as other occasions.
Okay,
Thank you for that feedback.
thanks.
Okay, now we have Allison.
Hi there. I was part of the previous presentation about the vegan land movement, and I heard you mention the vegan land movement when you first got started, but I was a little bit distracted from finishing up with the previous presentation. So anyway, I was asking, obviously, in the case of the vegan land movement, they're not planting a tree for each donation. They're buying land and letting the land rewild. So were you saying that you would be interested in offering a way for people to contribute to their land purchasing?
That's an interesting idea. Alison, I think when I mentioned vegan, you know, land movement in the beginning, I was basically just saying that, I enjoyed your talk. I had not yet connected it with this. But now that you're bringing it up, absolutely. So like I said, when right now what we do is planting trees, but like I said, we do think that the category needs to expand, and really, like, if we can package whatever your need is as a product that could feel like a gift, then we can explore that for sure. Like, right. So in your case, we could say something like, create your own forest, or like, so and so has created a forest, or even like named a forest in your name, right? And that could include both the cost of creating the land, because right now we are saying has planted trees in your name, but we could literally say something like has created a forest in your name, and that could include the cost of both buying the land as well as planting trees in between. And maybe you can give us like the coordinates of, this is the coordinate where where their forest exists, and we can package that as, here is your forest, and so has done this in your name. And that would, I think, that could float as a lovely gift as well. So I would love to talk to you guys offline to see if that sort of resonates with you. And yeah, I take it from there.
As it turns out, Kevin, who was here representing the vegan land movement. But as we said right from the very beginning, they're in an area where they're having a lot of heavy rains right now. And they didn't have the connectivity to be able to present as much as they wanted to. So, but we'll make sure that there's a connection made between the two of you and see how we proceed with that. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Allison. All right, do we have any other questions? Okay, I guess I kind of want to ask, how large is your organization, and are you hiring? That sort of, or is it volunteer?
It is a very small organization at the moment. It's mostly made up of volunteers who kind of work on a part-time basis, and we also sort of contract certain specialists for specific like marketing and those kinds of functions. But we're not at that point where we're able to full-time hire people. Primarily because it's self-funded, it's very early, but we would love to get to that place where we can hire people. But a lot of people seem to be excited enough about it that they do spend their voluntary time on it, and so that definitely helps.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you came on today and shared with us what you do. It's beautiful. All right, if
Absolutely.
there are no more questions, do you have any final words before we close this session?
No, I mean, it was great chatting with all of you. Please do visit greenr.gifts, and also reach out to me at p@greenr.gifts if you have any ideas or any other feedback. I would love to get all your thoughts and work with you to kind of make this much bigger, and appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. We're getting applause from the participants. Thank you, Prateeksha.
Thank you.